God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. Have you ever felt an emptiness inside? That sensation that no matter what you achieve, no matter how much you search, something fundamental is still missing? We spend entire lives looking for a purpose, a meaning that tells us who we are and why we are here. We search in religions, in philosophies, in careers, in relationships, in family, in material success. But what if I told you that this entire search is fundamentally wrong? What if the greatest secret to a meaningful life wasn't about finding a meaning, but rather about creating it? This is the shocking truth that Friedrich Nietzsche, one of history's most controversial and brilliant philosophers, revealed to us. A truth that few have the courage to face because it pulls the rug out from under us and forces us into a radical responsibility. Today, we are going to unveil why Nietzsche's famous phrase, "God is dead," is not a declaration of atheism, but a brutal diagnosis of our era. You will understand the crisis of nihilism, not as a dead end, but as the greatest opportunity for your freedom. And finally, you will discover the call of the Overman, Übermensch, Nietzsche's invitation for you to become the creator of your own values, the artist of your own life. Prepare for a transformation that begins the exact moment you stop searching and start building. Nietzsche's most famous phrase, "God is dead," is often misinterpreted. He was not celebrating the absence of a deity. He was diagnosing a profound crisis in Western civilization. For Nietzsche, God represented not just a religious figure, but all the absolute truths, transcendent morals, and universal purposes that, for centuries, gave meaning and structure to human life. Think about the foundations that guided humanity for millennia: morality imposed from above, predetermined destiny, unquestionable truth. Nietzsche realized that these foundations were crumbling. Science, reason, progress. All this was, paradoxically, eroding faith in any objective meaning of life. What remained was an existential void. There is no longer a pre-existing map for life. There is no divine instruction manual or universal truth that tells us how we should live, what is right or wrong, or what our purpose is. And this is terrifying for most people. They cling to any belief system, any ideology, any guru that promises to fill this void and give them a new map. But Nietzsche would say, they are missing the great opportunity. It's as if you lived in a house with walls and a roof that had always been there, and suddenly, those structures collapse. You might panic and try to rebuild exactly what was there, or you might realize that for the first time, you have the chance to build the house you truly want, without the limitations of the old foundations. The death of God is the liberation from dependence on an external meaning. It is the realization that we are now, for better or worse, solely responsible for forging our own path and meaning. Reflection. Exercise. Deconstructing your old maps. Take a moment to think. What truths or values have you always followed in your family, society, culture, without deeply questioning them? If you were to remove these truths for a moment, what would you feel? Fear? Freedom? Emptiness? Is there any purpose you pursued because you should, and not because it truly resonated with you? Recognizing these old structures is the first step towards creating your own. The realization of the death of God leads directly to nihilism, the belief that life, in itself, is devoid of meaning, purpose, or objective value. For many, this idea is paralyzing. It is passive nihilism, a surrender to despair, apathy, the feeling that nothing matters, and therefore, nothing is worth doing. People trapped here become cynical, resentful, or constantly seek escapism. But Nietzsche challenged us to go further. He saw in nihilism not just a danger, but a colossal opportunity. He called us to an active nihilism, the courage to look into the abyss, to recognize the absence of a predefined meaning, and not to despair, but rather to use that void as a blank canvas for creation. Think of an artist. They don't find their masterpiece ready-made in the world. They create it from nothing, from an empty canvas, from a shapeless block of clay. The absence of pre-existing form is not a curse, it is the condition for the possibility of art. Similarly, the absence of a predefined meaning in life is the condition for the possibility of your own existential artwork. Active nihilism is an act of tremendous strength. It is Nietzsche's will to power in its purest expression, the impulse to create, to affirm, to give meaning where there was none before. It is the courage to break free from the crutches of imposed values and to assume total responsibility for your own existence. Many people fear the void. They fill every second with distractions, with noise, so as not to have to face the question, and now, what is the meaning? But Nietzsche would say, it is in that void that your greatest power resides. It is the space where you, and only you, can paint your own universe of values. Engagement strategy, facing the void. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine that all the meanings you think life has were removed. There is no universal purpose, no predefined right or wrong. What do you feel? Fear? A pang of freedom? Now take a deep breath and, in that void, ask yourself, if I had to create a single value to guide my life from this moment, what would it be? Don't look for an intellectual answer, but one that resonates with your deepest essence. And it is in this scenario of a universe without predefined meaning that Nietzsche presents his most audacious idea, the Overman, or Übermensch. It is crucial to understand. The Overman is not a physically superior being, nor a cruel tyrant. It is an ideal. It is the human being who has overcome himself, who has transcended herd morality and passive nihilism, and who has become the creator of his own values. The Overman does not find meaning in life. He gives meaning to life. He does not bend to absolute truths or imposed morals. He forges his own. He lives according to a self-chosen ethic, one that is an affirmation of life in its fullness, with all its contradictions and sufferings. Imagine an artist. He doesn't ask for permission to create. He doesn't follow a manual to make his masterpiece. He gets inspired, he feels, he experiments, he fails, he tries again, and he creates. He is the source of his own aesthetic value. Similarly, the Nietzschean Overman is the artist of his own existence. This demands an immense will to power, not to dominate others, but to dominate oneself, to discipline oneself to become who you want to be, to impose your form on chaos. It demands the courage to be different, to defy conventions, and to face the solitude that often accompanies those who walk a new path. The self-creation of values is not selfishness, but a vital necessity. When you live values that are not your own, you live a life of falsehood, of resentment. It is only when you take responsibility for being the author of your own life that you can experience authentic freedom and fulfillment. Radical exercise, creating your fundamental value. Think of a value that you truly want to embody in your life, something that is intrinsic to you, not something you were taught. It could be courage, authenticity, creativity, commitment, integrity. What would that value be? How would your life change if you lived 100% aligned with that value, even if the world around you doesn't understand it? What concrete action can you take today to start living that value, even if it's a small step? This is the beginning of your masterpiece. So, if you feel lost searching for meaning, if life seems empty, remember Nietzsche's shocking but liberating diagnosis. The God of universal values is dead. There is no pre-existing purpose waiting to be found. But this is not a curse. It is your greatest blessing. It is the invitation to become a creator, to embrace active nihilism, to use the void as a blank canvas. It is the call of the Overman within you, to forge your own values, to live with your will to power in its fullness, to be the artist, the author, and the sculptor of your own life. The path is arduous and lonely at times, but the reward is authentic freedom and a life full of meaning, not an imposed meaning, but a meaning that you yourself have created. You are the master, the architect, the creator. If this message has resonated with you, if you are ready to stop searching and start creating your own value, write in the comments, "I create my own value." Share this video with someone else who is also searching for meaning. And of course, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell icon to continue challenging your thinking and building an unbreakable life in Nietzsche's style. Life does not wait for you. It waits for you to create it. The moment is now. Are you ready to be the artist of your own existence?